Dublin, Ireland. Now this is a place that really most people have on their bucket list as a place to go. I know it's been on ours.
It's been on my list for 20 some years now, so we're excited to be here.
We are. So in this video, what we want to cover for you is everything that you are going to be able to do in 5 nights and 6 days in Dublin, including a day trip.
Yes, we're going to do a day trip too, and it was a great day trip.
Yeah.
It was a day trip that you have to take if you're just coming to Dublin.
The other thing that we are going to cover is exactly what it cost us to spend these 5 days and 6 nights, or 6 days and 5 nights here. It's not a cheap place to come to, but we are going to cover all of our costs. So the first thing is, how do you get here? The great thing is, and one of the reasons that we actually ended up in Dublin, is that it is a great hub airport if you are coming to Europe to, say, go to another destination. So say this is not your main destination, you just want to hop in for a few days. It's a great place to do that. Now, when you get into the airport, it's very easy to get into town. There's a couple different options. There is a shuttle that you can take. We decided to go with a Uber/taxi. It's really getting you the same thing. The price range for that ranges anywhere from about $25 to $33, and that is just kind of going to depend on time of year.
It depends on traffic too. Now, we did hit quite a bit of traffic coming in.
We did. It was slow.
So we were at the higher range of that, about $33. But honestly, I didn't think it was that bad.
No, it wasn't bad, and then it gets you right to your hotel, so sometimes that's just better than dealing with the shuttle.
Okay, so once you've made it, you're at your hotel. What do you do first? Well, it's not budget friendly like we just mentioned, but there are free things you can do, and plenty of them. Anything that says national on the building, it's probably a museum, and it's definitely free. So that's something you can take advantage of. There's also a very large green space. When I say very large, it's twice the size of Central Park in New York City.
It's Phoenix Park is what it's
That's
called
large,
here. Yeah.
right. So go explore that. They've got wild deer you can go look at, all kinds of things.
And that's also the location of the Dublin Zoo. So if you're interested in the Dublin Zoo, that's there. But yeah, it was a huge, beautiful green space. So if you're here, we're here in March, and so the weather isn't exactly like park friendly so much. But if you were here in the summer, it would be a great place to go and spend an afternoon.
We did get lucky on the weather. We'll talk more about that.
Yes. Now there is a lot that you can go see and do while you are here, and all those things come at a cost. One way to see them and be able to, I don't know, for us, we have a tendency to kind of, we'll call it cheap out on things because if we're looking at the cost of something and we both kind of look at each other and like, do you want to go do that? Is it worth that price? One of the things they have is called the City Pass, or it's called Go City. And so with that, what you do, you have 2 different options. You can do the all-inclusive, which includes everything that is available for you to see for the most part, all the key things to see in Dublin. And that is at one price, which is about $120 US. And then there's also one called the Explorer Pass. That one is going to vary on price based on how many attractions you choose to go see and do.
Right. Now, we wanted to go to as many attractions as we possibly could because we're only here for 6 days. So we upped it a little bit and went with that 120 and got the all-inclusive.
And the 120, so kind of backtrack a little, the 120 is for 3 days. Now, for the time that we spent here, we really felt that the 3 days was necessary. When we arrived jet-lagged, we really didn't want to put in a ton of walking time. We did walk around quite a bit, but we were able to hop on. One of the things included is the hop-on, hop-off bus. And that was really a great way to kind of get your bearings for a good-sized city.
Figure out where you're at and figure out where everything else is at with a guide. He talks to you over the microphone, points out all the different attractions, where to get on the bus, where to get off the bus, and so on, what's free and what's not free. So he explains everything to you. We did that the first day. Now, we did do it at rush hour, which was not what we want to do. Go in the morning or midday. You won't have as much traffic and you get through a lot faster.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that this is a form that you're going to want, because initially when we were coming in, we thought, oh, we'll be able to use the hop on, hop off as kind of a form of transportation to get from point A to point B. It's not what I would suggest using. Like we said, traffic in Dublin just in general is always very heavy, but also they're taking all the kind of wider routes around to show you all of Dublin. So you're better off to just use it to go see the sights.
Right, they're not really going from point A to point B like you might if you walk. Now, it's not that large of a city, from one end to the other is probably about a 35 minute walk, depending on how fast you walk, of course. So we chose to walk most of the next 2 days.
Now, the full round trip tour on the bus is going to take you about 2 hours.
Right.
And one of the really cool things about the Go City is that when you first activate your pass is when your time starts. So you never have to worry about deciding when you're going to start that. If you decide you want to push it forward one day, didn't want to activate it the first day you got there, you can absolutely do that. But just be aware, if you are going to activate it, try and activate it as early as you can in the day, because it does start for that day.
Starts for that day, and it's a 2-hour approximate tour, again, depending on traffic. Now, some of the things that are included in this package, the Dublin Castle, which is a guided tour. It's it's a national building, but there's a guided tour that they can take you on. There's also Trinity College, which is also included. The Book of Kells is not included in this tour, and that's approximately $30 US to see the Book of Kells.
The next must-see place when you are here is the Epic Irish Immigration Museum. Now this, you can spend really a lot of time in there.
Yeah.
It is a huge place to go through, very interactive, a lot of things about, I mean, it really for me was, it taught you about Irish history that we just really didn't know a lot about.
I didn't really know what to expect going in, so I just went in with this idea that I was going to learn a little Irish history. Well, you learn a lot of Irish history. You can stay all day. As a matter of fact, when we went in to receive our tickets, and remember they're already a part of the package, they're paid for, but they want to scan your Go Pass, and then they give you a ticket. He said this is good all day, so you can come in, tour around for a while, go have lunch, come back if you'd like. So it is an all-day activity.
It is. I would for sure at least make sure that you allow a couple hours to go through this museum so that you do have the time to really take it all in.
It's interactive, so it kind of, you play with stuff, and it's fun.
It's fun, and it just really, you walk away understanding more about the culture here.
The force is with me. So once you've learned the Irish history, go check out some of the churches. St. Patrick's Cathedral and Christ Church Cathedral are a couple of must-sees. They're beautiful churches.
They are. They're absolutely stunning inside. Once again, all these things that we're mentioning to you are included in your pass. If you do not get that pass, these are all individual things. And I think that's where we were talking about. Sometimes you'll walk up to the door and it might be €12 to get in, and you start questioning, do we really want to go in and pay that much money? You just get that pass, because then you don't question it. You go see all of the stuff there. But they were absolutely beautiful inside. You could go down to the crypt and you could just really take in. They were actually doing a service in one of them while we were there. Just very beautiful.
Yeah, you know, and that's a good point. There are things that we don't do because of the cost. It has to, the cost has to be something worth it for us. And there are a couple things that we probably would not have done if it wasn't in the price of that pass we got. We're glad we got it.
We're very glad we got it.
Because we would have missed out, and we don't want to miss out while we're here, because we're only here for 6 days.
Right.
So we were really happy that we made the choice to do what we did.
Now, on to what is Dublin about?
Yeah, let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business.
Brass taxes.
Some of the things that are included on this, which we probably wouldn't have missed, we would have for sure made it to and paid the price for. The first one we started at was the Teeling Whiskey Distillery, which was very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
They really took you through the tour of exactly how whiskey is made, what ingredients are used, the distilling process, everything involved. And then you got a tasting of straight whiskeys, 2 different kinds, and a drink to go along with it.
Right. Yeah, and you could kind of, when you got there, you could pick whichever. You could add on to your package if you wanted to taste more of the whiskeys, or you would just go along with what they had that was included in your package. Now, this was also a guided tour.
Yes.
Took about an hour and a half maybe to go through the whole tour. And then there is a bar right when you are done if you want to buy a cocktail and enjoy some more time there.
And they've got a gift shop too, so you can buy stuff.
Yeah, you bought some
I bought some whiskeys.
Some to-go whiskey bottles for at home.
Little baby bottles. Yeah.
Had to try some more. Now from there, we went to Guinness, the Guinness Storehouse.
Yeah. So this was on our list early on.
Yeah.
We would have paid full price for this.
It's on our list before we even made it to Ireland.
And the reason why we did whiskey first before we did the beer is because whiskey, what is it? Whiskey first, whiskey before beer,
Liquor
you're in the
before.
clear.
It's liquor.
Liquor before beer, you're in the clear.
Something like
that. So anyway, we went to the Guinness Storehouse, and it is massive. It is huge. Yeah. It's also interactive. It's 5-6 floors. You get to self-tour yourself all the way through the entire process, and at the end you get a free Guinness in their bar up on the rooftop.
Yeah, it's a rooftop bar it's all glass. You get an amazing view over the city of Dublin for that alone. And if you're not an alcohol drinker, they have other options that you can get at the top. If you want to have a Guinness that's a non-alcoholic, they have that as well. This was just self-guided, so you got to go by yourself. Once again, takes maybe a good, I don't know, you can either take as long as you want in there, or you can push it and just get up to the top to get your drink as well. But we probably spent about an hour and then really just spent most of our time up at the top.
Yeah, they also have food. So they've got a couple of delis, little restaurants you can get food at. You can purchase more beer if you would like. I'd also like to point out, if I mentioned it was 5-6 floors, there are escalators and there's an elevator. So if you're unable to do stairs or to get around, they got you taken care of.
Yeah, and one of the places that we did stop that came recommended to us, and we would highly recommend to you, because I would have to say it wouldn't have been the thing that would have jumped out on the menu for me to order, but at the cafe, which is on the second floor, they have a sausage roll, and they heat it up for you, and it was absolutely wonderful.
Yes, thank you Barry and Shauna for that recommendation, because those were tasty.
They were so good, and it was great to get those in our stomach after having some whiskey and before moving on to some beer.
Yes, whiskey before beer. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear.
We'll have to look that up.
I knew that. I learned that in college.
So now, day 2, and some of these other things we did on day 2 as well, but spread out your liquor consumption a little bit. And so the next one we went to was Jameson Distillery.
The next day.
The whiskey distillery. And this one we actually really enjoyed, and I would probably say that we both agreed that we liked this one a little bit better as far as the tour went, because once again it was a guided tour.
It was a guided tour. It was also interactive. If you have to choose between the two, you can't do both, I would recommend going to Jameson. Not because the whiskey's any better or anything like that, but I did feel the tour, it was for I don't know, it was more educational,
It was more educational, and I would say it was just a bit more entertaining. We enjoyed both of them, but we walked away, if you're somebody who doesn't know, which is me, know much about the distilling process of whiskey, you walked away really understanding, because it was interactive. I'm that kind of learner. I want to be able to smell, touch, feel, and it did all of that.
Yeah,
so
you also
that was
got
a fun one.
3 tastings with that one. And a drink at the end.
And a drink at the end, and it was a fantastic drink. And you got to have that in their bar. So, we really enjoyed that. And, honestly, if you just take those 3 different, going to Guinness, going to Teeling, and going to Jameson, and then the hop off, you've already exceeded what you have paid for your ticket.
Right.
So if you just want to go do those, you've already figured out, and then you get to go do all the other stuff included.
Right.
Now, we kind of already mentioned getting around Dublin is a little bit it's actually very walkable, but it is quite a distance in between places. So the other options, because like we said, you're not going to want to use that hop on, hop off so much as your get from one place to the next. It's going to take you a lot longer than it should. Right.
If you can't make that walk 20 minutes or so, there are Ubers, there are city buses, there is a tram system.
There is the tram. So there's also rent a bike if you want a bike, if you're here in the summer. Not a lot of those around right now. No. The other thing that there is, and that's not necessarily right in the city, but to get out of the city, is the DART Rapid Transit, which we've heard great things about. We didn't necessarily have time while we were here to use that, but check that out if you are here longer. But there's tons of different options to get around if you don't want to walk it.
Okay, now that you've done everything in Dublin, that you want to do, you need to go on a day trip. And for us, there was only one option of what we wanted to do. If we only have one thing to do, this was going to be it. And that was the Cliffs of Moher.
Right. So we wanted to make it over there. We also really wanted to get out of the city and see the countryside of Dublin. And one way that you're going to do that is to get on a bus and do a day trip. Now, the day trip that we first chose, before we go into the places that we saw, the day trip that we chose is not a short day. No matter what day trip you choose to take, it's not going to be a short day because every place is quite a distance away. So the one that we went with was through Wild Rover. We absolutely would highly recommend going through them. You can book it on multiple different sites, but the one that we did was included Cliff of Moher.
Yep.
It included the Atlantic
the highway, the Wild Way.
And then it also included Galway. And that was that kind of covered all the things that we knew for sure we wanted to see while we were here.
Yeah, the bus ride alone was you go through the heart of Ireland and you get to see the countryside. So what you imagine Ireland would look like, well, that's what you're driving through.
Yeah.
All the rock walls and everything. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So our first stop was the Cliff of Moher, and it is everything that you imagine it's going to be. It's absolutely stunning.
It's stunning.
It's a must-see location.
It left me wanting more.
It was a dad joke of the day. So the day that we were there, it was, of course, absolutely windy, which just kind of comes with the territory. Unfortunately, while we were there, it was also incredibly cold.
It was very cold and windy.
Yeah, but just really a must-see. There's two different trails you can take when you're there. One's kind of a longer one, and one is a little bit shorter, but both take a little bit of time. We had 2 hours on our tour, so we had more than enough time to go explore and take it all in. And then there's also a gift shop area there that's kind of hidden down underneath the hillside, and that included an area that you could go through that kind of gave some history as well.
Yeah, some history. Again, interactive. These Irish are into their interactive museums. So this one you can go through and learn all about it. You can get some coffee, which we did.
We did, warmed up.
Some food if you need it. A gift shop because they want to sell you stuff. One other point I'd like to make. Again, if you can't walk up the stairs to see over the Cliffs of Moher, they've got golf carts that are employee operated. You jump on, they'll take you up there.
Yeah.
So if you have problems with stairs, you're taken care of.
Yeah. Now, from there, we left and we then headed, and it's going to take about 2 hours to get to Galway. And that, though, those 2 hours might seem like a while, but it was beautiful the entire time.
Yeah.
We just really got to take in a lot of the scenery. It was kind of interesting because we saw people on the bus taking a nap. This is not the time to take a nap.
It's not a time to take a nap.
This is part of the excursion. So we really enjoyed being able to just check out all the scenery, see the countryside, the waterway.
No, it was great. And one of the things that also helps pass the time is your tour guide. Rory, we had Rory.
He was fantastic.
5 stars for Rory.
Yes.
He was great. He talks you through everything. He points out things along the way. Sarah, the amazing bus driver, she'll slow down so you can get a good look. So those two were great. And honestly, if you get a bad tour guide and a bad bus driver, it can ruin a trip.
It can.
Well, thumbs up to those two because we had a great time.
Yeah, it made, it wasn't just like entertaining us. It was a lot of history. We were listening to some traditional Irish music. It really made that 13-hour day, those times that we were in the bus for longer stretches, go a lot quicker. But at the same time, they knew when to turn the music off or to keep it quiet because people were kind of resting and taking a nap. So that was perfect. Now, after that, we then head to Galway. And Galway, we were there for 2 hours. What we would say about Galway, we had, like we always say to people, don't work up in your head an idea of what, like an expectation, because those expectations can be like just smashed.
Yeah, we put them way up here.
Yeah.
And we put them way too high, and we got there and we were a little bit let down. Not to say it's not a really cool place, a lot of shopping, some good food. Again, Rory and Sarah had several suggestions on where to go eat, where to get a drink, and we took them up on one of those. But yeah, we were a little bit let down about Galway as a whole.
Right. It just wasn't, it didn't check as many boxes as maybe we thought it was going to be. We really honestly felt like we were going to regret not getting to the smaller town to stay instead of staying in the bigger town of Dublin.
Right.
And then it was kind of cool because when we got there, we were like, oh, we're glad we stayed in Dublin because we absolutely love Dublin. So anyways, that whole trip, we highly recommend doing that. We will have the link down below as far as for the company to go through. And as well as we will be sharing the costs at the very end of this of what everything cost us. So
it sounds like it's going to be expensive to me. Just
it might be a little expensive.
Talking through it here. All right, now if you've been watching our channel for any length of time at all, you know that we love our Irish pubs. We find them in every city around the world. Well, this particular city of Dublin has about 380 of them. So
which is
we're gonna try and hit as many of those as we can. Now, the beer prices here are about what we got back home, $7 or $8 for a pint. If you go into the more touristy spots, they're gonna be
about 10.
About
euro.
10.
Yeah, and that's euro,
right, and that's
so
euro,
a little
so
bit
it's
higher.
even more.
Yeah.
If you go to some of the places that aren't considered so touristy, it's going to be a little bit less. So that's an added bonus. But with that being said, you've got to go into these places.
Yeah.
You've got to listen to the music. You have to have a pint of Guinness or whatever red beer you might want, and just enjoy it because
or an Irish coffee.
Or Irish coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that for me personally, this has been one of my absolute favorite things about Dublin is that it doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter where you are at. There is music being played. There's traditional Irish music, and you can just hop into a pub and listen to somebody playing and have a drink or have something to eat. And I don't know, we search high and low for that sometimes. I mean, we always find a pub, but getting that music playing unless it's late at night, and we don't stay up that late.
We don't stay up that late.
So that has been a real highlight for us here. Now, when you are here, there's a couple dishes that you for sure want to try that we have tried and absolutely love. There is a seafood chowder that is fantastic, and then you also want to try the Irish beef stew.
Yes. Now, I had fish and chips on 2 different occasions.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a big fish and chip guy, but that was highly recommended in both places that we went to. They were good. I wasn't disappointed at all.
No, they were good.
But if you watch the video and you go, geez, Brian likes his fish and chips. Well, that's what they're known for. So that's
It
what I
is,
went for.
yes, yeah. So lots of great food to try. Really nice, hearty, perfect this time of year, honestly, because it's kind of what you're craving.
Now, the live music is great, but if you can catch a game, whether it be rugby or football, soccer. Try and do it because they're very passionate about it. So tonight, it's Ireland against England in rugby for the international championship.
Huge match for them.
So we've been hearing all about it.
Yeah,
right?
we are very excited to get there.
So we're gonna do that later on today. Now, Rory, our travel guide again, told us all about this. So we got one particular sports bar we're going to go to tonight.
Go check it out.
Go check that out.
Now, when you are in Dublin, you also are going to ask yourself, where do you want to stay so you're closest to all the action? Especially when you're coming and you're only here for a few days, you want to make sure that you're as central as possible. Like with us, then we can just walk wherever we need to go. So the key thing is when you are looking at a map, if you look up the Temple Bar. Now, the Temple Bar is a place, but it's also an area.
Right.
So if you stay anywhere near the Temple Bar, you will be right walking distance to pretty much absolutely everything that you need to get to.
You're kind of in the middle of it all because one way is the Epic Museum. This way over here is the breweries. So it's pretty central. We got a great spot.
We do. We have a great spot. Now, we are not actually what you would say would be Temple Bar area. We're right across the river from that. Once again, you just hop across the river, you're right there. Now, where we stayed at is called Zanzibar Lock. We would highly recommend this place that we stayed at. It's kind of an apart hotel. So we have a little living space, little kitchenette, and then we have a little bedroom area. It's all a studio style, but it does give you that little bit of extra space. One thing we always look for is when you are traveling someplace and it's super expensive, one way to cut down some costs is to be able to have some groceries and have your coffee at home and have something for breakfast. And there's been a couple nights we just had charcuterie for dinner because it was just really easy and we had snacked during the day.
Right, and again, this location is perfect. We got a couple grocery stores right behind us, so it's worked out really well. Okay, so if you're planning your trip, how long do you want to stay? What can you get away with? What's too long? I don't really think you can stay too long. Now, we stayed 5 nights, 6 days, and I think we could have done a 7th day. We probably could have jumped on that bullet train and gone down to Cork or maybe up to Belfast. We didn't have the opportunity to do that, but we got a lot done.
We got a lot done, and thank goodness the weather ended up really cooperating for 5 of those 6 days. So today...
It's pouring down rain right now.
One of the reasons that we're filming this inside, our intention was totally to bring this to you out in Dublin, but unfortunately it is not only pouring down rain today, it is actually very windy, which if anybody knows anything about videoing, those two things do not go along together.
No.
Yeah, so anyways, this is how we're gonna have to do it. But 5 days or 5 nights, 6 days we thought was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
But if you have the time to add more, it would be really great to be able to maybe add another day trip or something to get out another direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so now down to the part that a lot of people are probably waiting for. What did these days in Dublin cost us? We're just going to forewarn you, it's not cheap here. We knew that coming in, and it really is just a must-see place to check off that list. So the first cost that we have, which is always your highest cost, is going to be our accommodations. Like we said, we absolutely loved where we stayed. We didn't cut any corners where we were staying, but it was really kind of an average price of all the other hotels and everything around, and we paid for 5 nights $1,056.
Yeah, $1,056. And then our entertainment, which we're going to start with the Go Pass, and which included all the tickets to everything we went to. For the 2 of us was $240.
And then the cost for us to do our day trip, which really honestly for what we got out of that, we felt was incredibly affordable. For both of us, that was $173. And that also included, so you do have to pay a ticket to get into the Cliff of Moher. That included your ticket into the Cliff of Moher.
Right. Now there's all the other expenses that we kind of feel like it's an entertainment thing. You can't go into a bar and sit down and listen to live music without having a pint in your hand. So we have to get those pints to watch the live music. But honestly, we felt it was worth it.
It was totally worth it.
You're paying $8 for a pint, okay, but you're getting this really cool music. You're in Dublin, you're in Ireland, you're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing this.
Well, and sometimes people will tell you to stay away from, say, those more touristy bars. They charge more for, say, the pint of Guinness. Okay, we totally understand that, but sometimes those are the places that are playing the music all day long, and it's really good music. So if you kind of look at it like you're paying a little bit for the entertainment as well, we didn't mind paying that little bit of extra for our pints. So our total price for our eating out, and like we said, we did eat in a few nights with some charcuterie, and for all of our beers out, which honestly was the majority of this budget, was $376. And that includes, we added our budget for today because like we said, we are going to go to a match and we know we're going to be drinking. So we added an extra $60 of that is for that. So $376.
Did we add my whiskey at Teeling?
Oh, nope, that's not in there yet.
Add $18 onto that price, and you get the price.
So that $18 won't be in our total that we give you, but that was an extra if you want to get that.
So the total, not including my $18 whiskey, was $1,845, $1,845.
Right. So, you know, this is for, like we said, this is 5 nights. Big chunk of that was accommodations. We really felt like in the 6 days that we were here, we saw a ton. We took in as much of Ireland as we possibly could in that time frame, and we were okay with that budget amount.
Right, and that's the time spent here. We're not including plane tickets.
No.
Because we had to get here and we stopped here as a layover to get someplace else. So that is time on the ground.
Right. So I would honestly just say to you, if Dublin is on or Ireland is on your bucket list place to go and you are going to be coming to Europe, look at a ticket flying to Dublin. Stop in for even just a couple days and just see Dublin if you can. And then hop out from there. It's not going to cost you any more for your flights. And it's just a great way to get here at an affordable rate to do it instead of seeing this as your main vacation stop. All right, we hope you enjoyed this video. Cheers.
I shall please, won't you tell me who